Soma.
What does it do?
Determines if the neuron can fire or
Decides whether or not to fire. In order to fire, the stimulus must
be strong enough.
pass the threshold, which means it needs to be strong enough, right? Then once it says fire, it goes through what's it?
Axon.
What does it do?
It transmits the message.
What's this?
Myelin sheath.
What's it made out of?
Fatty
Good.
substance.
What does it do?
It insulates and protects the
Message and speeds it up. Good. What do you call the deterioration of
multiple sclerosis.
You guys, we're going to kill chapter 3. Good. Okay.
It's so iconic,
Good. Now we go to the other side, and what are these?
Terminal buttons.
Terminal buttons or axon terminals. Good. What do you call the circles on us?
Synaptic
Vesicles.
Synaptic vesicles. What's inside them?
Neurotransmitters.
Neurotransmitters, which are chemical messages. Great. Good. They get released into the synapse, which is a space between the two neurons, right? Good. Then they bind to receptor sites, like a lock and key. Right? What do you call substances that mimic neurotransmitters? Agonists. And substances that block? Antagonists. Good. They're both shaped like it, so it can fit. It's like imposters, right? Good. Okay. Let me see. What do you call, so after the neurotransmitter gets released into the synapse, it goes back into the synaptic vesicle? Reuptake. Good. How do SSRIs work? They delay the reuptake of serotonin. They inhibit the reuptake. So instead of serotonin, once it's done doing its job, instead of it going back into the presynaptic neuron, to the synaptic vesicles, it hangs out longer in the synapse so it can keep activating the next neuron. Okay? Kind of like keep firing, yeah. Okay, good. So once the neural impulse starts, it cannot stop halfway. What do we call that? All or none law. Good. What about, let's see. In order to, oh no, we said threshold. Okay, once it fires, it has to take a break before it fires again. Absolute threshold. That's also called the time elapsed between action potentials, right? It's like the time between when it's not firing. Good. All right. Absolute refractory period, yes. Okay, yep. You got it. All right. What about, let me see. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to get to that now. Okay. So, at rest, what's the charge inside?
Negative 70 millivolts.
Negative 70 millivolts, right? What is inside the axon? Positive potassium and negative protein ions. And there are a lot of those big negative protein ions, and so overall the charge is negative 70. What's on the outside? Sodium ions. Good. So during an action potential, remember the dendrites receive information, it's strong enough, it reaches the threshold, so the soma says fire. What happens to those sodium ions?
They rush in.
They rush in through that nodes of Ranvier, also known as
sodium channels,
and they turn the inside positive. So now the inside is positive and the outside is still positive. So we call that depolarization. Because before it was negative, positive, now it's all positive, so it's been depolarized.
It's really skinny.
You get it? Polarized is opposite. So at first it's negative, positive, and so it's polarized. And then they come in, and now it's all positive, so it's depolarized. Okay? You got it? Okay. Is that it for that? Oh, glia. Glia, what's the mnemonic?
Grandma
Glia. What does the grandma do? It nourishes the neuron and
cleans up
changes the neuron's diapers. Cleans up waste. Good. Okay, great. What do you call the nervous system that's made up of your brain and spinal cord?
Central nervous system.
Central. What's inside of it? Cerebrospinal fluid. And what do you call the neurons that go one after the other? Interneurons. Good. What do you call the nervous system on the outside? Peripheral nervous system. Good. What do you call the neurons that go from your sense organs to your brain?
Sensory neurons.
Sensory neurons, also known as afferent. And what do you call the ones that go from your brain to your muscles? Motor, also known as efferent. What's the mnemonic? Same. Good. Avocado.
What?
Avocado.
Oh yeah.
Free shabaka.
Glial cells, so that's what they look like those splattery thingies.
We honestly.
Prozac, Proxil, and
Oh yes. Yes, thank you, Giselle. What are the 3 types of SSRIs that we studied? Prozac, Paxil, Zoloft. Good. When we get to the last chapter in the book, which we're going to do a little out of order, but that covers that again. What do you call the part of the axon where the neural impulse starts?
Axon hillock.
Axon hillock. Good.
Skinny. Acetylcholine.
Okay.
And the pain endorphins. Endorphins.
action potential.
Reuptake.
Mama has all.
Okay, neurotransmitters.
Yo, got it.
I know this is small, but we'll go through. I don't want to give it away, so I don't want to go to the actual slides yet. Okay, so I'm going to give you like a statement. You're going to give me the neurotransmitter, okay? Okay. Alzheimer's. Acetylcholine. Low levels or high levels? Low. They're mostly low levels unless you're talking about dopamine and schizophrenia and glutamate and ALS. Otherwise, it's low levels that we're talking about, okay? Okay. Parkinson's. Dopamine. Good. Depression. Eating disorders. OCD. Good. Let's see. Anxiety.
GABA.
Good. Let's see. This one is in charge of mood. Serotonin. Good. This one is in charge of voluntary movement. Dopamine. Also movement. What else? Acetylcholine. Good. Memory. Acetylcholine. I think glutamate too, actually. Okay, good. Pain relief. Good. Let's see. Fight or flight.
Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine and epinephrine. Good. Okay, so now there's more, but we're gonna go over one at a time. So acetylcholine, what's a mnemonic?
Mama has Alzheimer's.
Mama has Alzheimer's. So low levels leads to Alzheimer's. What does MAMA stand for? Movement.
Attention,
Arousal.
memory,
Attention. It doesn't matter the order. What's an agonist for acetylcholine? Nicotine. What's an antagonist? Venom and Botox. Yep. Okay, dopamine. Voluntary movement and also pleasurable emotions. Remember we said the reward pathway? Dopamine, drugs, dope. Okay? When you don't have enough, you have Parkinson's and you have to lift your dopamine with L-DOPA. When you have too much, it's linked to schizophrenia. The dopamine hypothesis believes that you could actually cause schizophrenia, have drug-induced schizophrenia, right? Serotonin, so sleep, okay, so what was that? Schmood. Sarah has an eating disorder and she's depressed.
Me.
Sleep and wakefulness and aggression too. Serotonin actually does a lot. Okay. Norepinephrine, negative Nancy, also depression. Too little of that is also linked to depression. It's also the one released in fight or flight. Okay, that's pretty much all you need to know. It's a stimulant. GABA, what does it do? Inhibits anxiety. So if you have too little GABA, anxiety creeps up, right? What's the mnemonic? The boy watches Yo Gabba Gabba to calm down his anxiety. Good. Glutamate. So this is the primary excitatory neurotransmitter. Remember the mnemonic? We put glue on our hands and then we peel it and we get excited for the glue. But if you swallow too much glue, it's toxic. Al swallowed too much glue, ALS, and it's linked to ALS. Okay? So ALS, the effects are kind of similar to multiple sclerosis, kind of like MS, but the mechanism is different. So MS, the myelin sheath gets deteriorated, right? With ALS, the whole motor neuron dies. All right, but it's still, MS, if it's your motor neuron, that affects your movement, right? That's why you end up with paralysis. But it's also numbness because it's also sensory neurons. So going from your skin to your brain, those get affected too. With ALS, it's just motor, okay? But then eventually it affects breathing and swallowing and all that stuff. Okay. Endorphins, what's the mnemonic?
And the pain of dolphins.
And the pain of dolphins. So endorphins is associated with pain relief. What do we call it when athletes, after a while, they don't feel the pain?
Runner's high.
Runner's high. Good. Okay, runner's high. What's an agonist for endorphins?
Morphine.
Morphine. Good. Okay, good. Heroin. Right. Okay, we did that. Peripheral, so we have central nervous system and we have peripheral nervous system. Peripheral gets divided into somatic and autonomic. So somatic is voluntary, autonomic is involuntary because it sounds like automatic, right? Autonomic gets divided into parasympathetic and sympathetic. What's parasympathetic? Peace. During peace, what's sympathetic? Scared, fight or flight. Okay, S for scared, P for peace. Para is saving up for the, an emergency, for the sympathetic. Okay. We all know what happens during fight or flight, all that stuff. Pupils dilating, sweating, heart rate goes up, breathing goes up. Okay, also you can fight or flee.
Hypothalamus.
Okay, what device would give you brain waves? EEG. So waves, right? Brain waves, good. Electroencephalograph. Ceph means head. Or bricks. No, yeah, just head. Okay, good. TMS stands for? Transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's the thing where your face goes here and there's like this big magnet, and it could either increase or decrease the firing of neurons. So if it's decreasing, it's kind of like a virtual lesion because the firing, like if you have too much of a neurotransmitter, it can maybe decrease it so that you don't have too much. So that's how it works. So, any questions on TMS? They use it to treat depression. Yeah, so they they increase the release of serotonin neurons. Lesioning, what's that?
Destroy a piece of the brain.
Destroy a piece of the brain. Good. Can you, we could determine cause and effect, right? Because lesioning, because it's the only change. But can you just go around lesioning people's brains? Enough.
Give me one.
Okay. ESB, what does it stand for? Electrical stimulation of the brain. So why would we do that? To activate a part and see what it does, right? So Olds and Milner did that with mice. Remember they attached it to the reward pathway, dopamine area in the hypothalamus, and what did the rat do mice? What did the mice do all day?
Press the
lever
until it died.
Until it died.
Yeah.
All right.
It lived a good life.
CAT scan or CT scan? What does it stand for? Computerized tomography. Good. And what is it? What's the mnemonic?
X-ray of the
cat. So it's a bunch of X-rays, like 100 X-rays to create a 3D image. Good. Of brain structure. Good job, Kim. Brain structure. Good. What's another thing that shows a 3D image of brain? MRI. MRI, though, uses... No. CT is radiation. X-rays are radiation. MRI uses magnets. Okay? Good. But you get a very similar picture from each one, okay, of brain structure. What two things give you brain picture it's wrong because that's actually a PET scan.
Well,
Like this with the colors is not a CT, it's a PET scan. A CT is black and white. This is showing activity, so that's a tumor.
Oh yeah.
And it's showing all the blood, like the red is where there's a lot of blood, right? So it's showing the blood go to that area. Yeah, it's interesting. But so that's a mistake in the PowerPoint. Okay, PET scan shows you brain activity. What's the mnemonic? Colorful PET ate a lot of sugar. Okay, so it measures glucose consumption. It shows where the glucose is going, which is basically showing where the blood is going, because the blood is carrying the glucose, right? So let's see. What do they give you, like radioactive stuff, and then, Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of these are really good for you. I mean, an EEG, I don't think is harmful. An MRI, I don't think is bad, but if they inject you with the stuff, it's probably bad. An X-ray has radiation. Yeah, but I mean, people get their bones X-rayed and stuff. That's why at the dentist they put the guard on you over your thyroid, so you don't get exposure there. Okay. Yes. CT. PET has radioactive stuff, so maybe it's a kind of radiation, but CT is the one that you need to know with that. So PET stands for positron emission tomography. Again, blood flow is shown by color, so the higher up on the rainbow, the more blood flow. So if there's a lot of red, there's a lot of blood flow in that area. If it's violet, there's not. Okay? And again, it shows activity. What's the other one that shows activity? fMRI. It stands for functional MRI. Function is activity. So that shows oxygen consumption, but also blood flow. Okay, the brain. What are the three parts behind brain?
The
Medulla, pons,
and the
cerebellum. Good. What's the mnemonic for medulla? Medusa stops your heart. So breathing and heart rate. Okay? Good. What's the mnemonic for pons? Pom-poms. Cheerleaders either wake you up or put you to sleep, and if they fall, they can be paralyzed. So sleep and arousal and paralysis during what? REM sleep. Good. Okay? Okay, what's the one part in the midbrain? Reticular formation, also known as ARAS, ascending reticular activating system. Remember? ARA. Wakes you up. Okay? Good. Now we have the forebrain. So we have, what's the big bean in the middle? Thalamus. What's the mnemonic? Tamale delivery. So what does it do? Relay station for all sensory inputs except smell, because the sense of smell evolved before the thalamus came. Good. What's this dangly thing? Pituitary gland. Good. Pit bull. Master gland of all the dogs. Master gland in charge of all the other glands, right? What about the hypothalamus? Hyper for the 4Fs. Feeding, fighting, fleeing, and mating. Okay, good. And what else? Eating goes with thirst and motivation. And it's also in charge of the pituitary gland, so the whole endocrine system. And temperature, good job. What is this loop? This whole area? Limbic system, what's the mnemonic? Limbo, if you win, you're happy. If you lose, you're sad. So the limbic system is in charge of emotions. Good. This right here is the hippocampus. What's the mnemonic?
Hippo on campus.
Hippo on campus, studying flashcards. So it's linked to turning short-term memory into long-term. We call that consolidation. That'll come up again in chapter 7. What's this lonely one? Amygdala monster. The amygdala is in charge of fear. Good. And strong emotions, yes. What's this thing?
Corpus callosum.
Corpus callosum. What's the mnemonic? Corpus, call someone. to communicate. So it allows the two hemispheres to communicate and it connects them, right? Two hemispheres of the cerebrum. What's the cerebrum? Thinking. Don't be dumb. Use your cerebrum. Good. So that's the biggest and most complex part of the human brain. Okay? What's this? Cerebellum. What does it do?
Balance and fine motor
Sarah
coordination.
the ballerina, balance and fine motor coordination, like threading a needle or playing an instrument or something like that. Do we get all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you call the gap between the two hemispheres?
Fissure.
Fissure. Good. We did get it. I feel like we missed something, but maybe not. Okay. Cool.
Was that you?
No, it was a video.
Oh, I was like, what? I did too. I was like,
Okay. All right. The lobes. The lobes. Show me your.
oh, do you want to?
Oh yeah.
This says which brain part is the oldest.
The hindbrain. The hindbrain is the oldest because without the medulla, we can't survive. So that has to be the oldest. Okay.
Hindbrain is the oldest, but
Hindbrain is the oldest.
Yeah, hindbrain is the oldest. Think medulla. You couldn't survive without it. Ready?
skinny.
Okay. Good job, Jade. I feel like a lot of people needed that. All right. Cool. So show me your frontal lobe. What does it do? Thinking, personality, motivation. Good. Prefrontal cortex. What does it do?
Higher order thinking.
Higher order thinking
Decision
and
making.
decision making. Does not develop till you're 25. Does not fully develop till you're 25. Okay? Good. Show me your. What else is in your frontal lobe? Broca's area. So I'm going to mirror you guys. It should be on your left side. Okay? Left side. Your left. Yeah. So Broca's area, boca,
Speech production.
production of speech. Good. What else is in your frontal lobe? Motor cortex. Helps you with movement. That's where all the motor neurons originate from. So they go from there to your muscles. Because your muscles help you move, right? What else is in the frontal lobe that we learned last chapter?
Insular cortex.
Insular cortex. Remember the sense of?
Tongue on.
Link your forehead. Taste, right?
Tongue on forehead.
Okay, good. All right, good. Show me your somatosensory cortex. Right behind the motor. Right behind the motor. What lobe? Parietal. Parents, pat your head. Parietal. Somatosensory cortex is the sense of touch. Remember? Skin, spinal cord, thalamus, somatosensory cortex, right? Good. Show me your temporal lobes. Good. Temporal is? Hearing. Good. Show me Wernicke's area. Should be on your left.
On the left, yeah.
Language left, right? Wernicke should be right behind Broca's in your temporal lobe, though. That is what? Language
Comprehension.
comprehension. What's the mnemonic?
Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj raps so fast you can't comprehend.
Nicki
Good.
Minaj.
Good. What about, show me your occipital lobe.
Bam.
What is that?
Vision.
Vision. What's the mnemonic? Eyes in the back of your head. Good. Was that all of them? Primary visual cortex. Good. Where's your primary auditory cortex? Temporal lobes. Great. Good job. Yeah. Right brain versus left brain. I'm going to give you a function. You're going to tell me what brain, what side of the brain. Language. Left. Language left. Logic. Left. Creativity.
Right.
Right. Good. Math. Left. Good. Facts. Left. Good. Holistic thinking. Right. Parts.
Right.
Parts is left. Holistic, whole is right. Parts is left. Remember the guy looking at the Archimboldo? Okay. So you see the face is the facial recognition. That's right. Facial recognition is the right hemisphere. That's when they're likely to ask you. What do you call the inability to recognize faces? Prosopagnosia, the inability to recognize objects.
Visual agnosia.
Visual agnosia or just agnosia. What is Broca's aphasia?
You can't.
So it's damage to Broca's area, so you cannot produce speech. What's Wernicke's aphasia?
You can't.
Can't comprehend because of damage to Wernicke. Okay, good. Going back to, yes, Kimi.
What is holistic thinking?
So holistic thinking is being able to view something as a whole. So I'll give you an example. Like, I can grade your paper and just focus on, let's say I was an English teacher and I would grade your paper and just focus on grammar. That's like a part, right? But if I give you a holistic grade, that includes everything. Understand? Okay. Like grammar, content, style, creativity, everything together.
That's literally my whole AP.
Okay. Or like being able to see like the big picture in something. Okay. All right. What about feelings? Right hemisphere. Verbal. Left, because it's language. Non-verbal. Right. Good. Imagination.
Right.
Good. Rhythm.
Right.
Lyrics.
Left.
Left. Good. Very nice. Sequencing. Left. Putting things in order. What is plasticity?
The brain physically changes.
The brain physically changes shape. If you get a part of the brain removed, other parts can learn the function and take over. But what happens as you get older? Plasticity declines. So plasticity is highest in very, very young people. Okay? Neural pruning, if you don't use it, you lose it. So what does it mean? If you don't reinforce what you've learned, the neurons die. The neurons or the connections get sort of removed. It's like to make space, kind of, right? So we don't have too much clutter, in a way. Mirror neurons. When you see other people get hurt or get a massage or anything, our neurons fire. So what's the purpose of this?
To feel empathy.
It helps us learn and imitate.
Feel empathy.
Feel empathy for others. Learn new skills. Avoid danger. Yeah, good, good. So it's, again, like everything is survival. Phantom limb syndrome, that's when you have a part amputated and you still feel usually pain, sometimes itching. So what did Dr. Ramachandran come up with?
The mirror
The
box.
mirror box. So they put in, like, let's say their right arm was amputated and they feel like clenching. They put in their left, they look at the mirror and it looks like they're
Right.
right, and they can go like this, and it can actually feel better. Okay? You could watch, as creepy as this sounds, you could watch someone get a massage, and that will relax you. I'm sure there's like a YouTube channel for it.
What? Okay. The internet is something else.
Okay. Roger Sperry. He did Sperry split. He did split brain research. Who's the other main guy that we saw in the video? Michael Gazzaniga. Michael Gazzaniga. His name could be on the AP test. He's that important. So remember, he's a professor at UC Santa Barbara. Yeah, I think he still is. I have to check. But so split brain research. So what does split brain research teach us? What does it show us?
How people.
Like, yeah, what side does what? Okay, and why would someone have? Well, what does it mean to have a split brain?
Corpus
Their
callosum.
corpus callosum has been
Severed.
or cut. And so when, yes, so Kim, so you're right. So when would someone have their corpus callosum severed? Severe epilepsy. That's a treatment for severe epilepsy. When all other measures have failed. Endocrine system releases hormones. Hormones are kind of like neurotransmitters, but instead of in the brain, they get released in the bloodstream. Good. A key hormone is oxytocin. What does it do? What does it do? Breast milk stimulates contractions and empathy. You got it. Good, Angelique. Okay. Okay, hormones are pulsatile, so they're released, several times a day in pulses. What's released during fight or flight?
Norepinephrine.
Adrenaline and noradrenaline, norepinephrine and epinephrine are the neurotransmitters. Cortisol gets released, that's a stress hormone. There's actually a link between high cortisol levels and depression too. We'll go over that in the stress chapter right before the AP test. On purpose. What's the master gland again?
Pituitary.
Pituitary, good. Heredity. So, how many chromosomes do we have? 46. How many pairs?
23.
23. Just remember that brand, 23andMe. It's 23 pairs. Okay? So, good. And on your chromosomes, you have your genes, your DNA, right? Good. What is it called when you have a pair of genes that are the same, like big B, big B?
Homozygous.
Homozygous, because homo means same. What about big B, little b?
Heterozygous.
Heterozygous, because they're different. Good. What's your phenotype?
Physical appearance.
Physical appearance. PH for phenotype, PH for physical appearance. So I have brown eyes, that's my phenotype. What's your genotype? Your genetic makeup, so mine would be big B, little b. Can you tell just from looking at brown eyes what genotype it is? No. You can't. No. So, yeah, you need to know the rest. You need to know the whole, and sometimes you still, like, if everyone has brown eyes, you don't really know. There could be a recessive hiding, but the dominant is paired up. So, yeah. Okay. Polygenic traits, what does poly mean?
More than one.
More than one, so when a trait like hair color and skin color, I think, are polygenic, they're determined by more than one gene. So it's not just the big B, little b for eyes, but it's like more. Twin studies. What are identical twins? How do they form? One egg, one sperm. They pair a zygote, right? It splits, so they both have 100% the same exact DNA. Okay? A fraternal twin, different eggs, different sperm. They're as related as regular brothers, or regular brother and sister, or regular sisters. They oftentimes look alike because they're going through the same age at the same time. Okay? But they are 50% related, just like you and your regular brother or sister. Okay, so in order to sort of separate heredity and environment, what do you need to study? Not necessarily twins. It's more important adoption, because that way they're raised in separate environments. Okay? Identical twins raised apart would be like the best to study. Okay, because not only are they 100% the same genes, but they're in completely different environments, so you could best determine, genetics versus environment with identical twins raised apart. But if you had to choose between twin study and adoption study, you would choose adoption study. Epigenetics, this is the idea that our experiences kind of get passed down too. So what we do in our lifetime affects gene expression of our offspring. Crazy stuff, right? And this is like new stuff. Like they didn't have this when I was in high school. So super, super fascinating. Okay, chapter 3, heads up, while I set up the other one. And we're almost done. We've got 40 minutes.